Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Jennie the Machine Hughes.
Hello everyone to an episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Jennie the Machine Hughes, and joining me this time around is an award-winning writer with a book all about identity and who we are. It is the ultra-talented Jennie Wood. Jennie, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. More than welcome indeed. You're Bostonian, so it would be a little bit remiss of me to ask, you're not a New England Patriots fan, are you?
I am not. No,
Yes!
I am not.
Speaking as a Dolphins fan, that's good to know. That's very good to know. All right, excellent. So we're here to talk about your book, Paper
Yeah.
Planes. I have to say I've read chapter 1, and I was thoroughly engrossed and endeared by the characters in there. I thought it was a lovely slice of could be life, definitely. So, what was the inspirations for you to pen this this fantastic story?
Well, I was approached by Erica Schultz, who does some editing, freelance editing at Mad Cave and Maverick, and she's also a phenomenal writer as well. And we've known each other for a long time, and Mad Cave wanted to do a original graphic novel about an intense friendship that was set at a camp for troubled youth, and the motif of the project of the book would be paper planes. So at the camp, the teenagers would get their phones taken away from them, and so the way that the two friends would communicate would be through paper planes. And I love that idea. It just was perfect because just before I was approached to write this, a great friend of mine from grade school had passed away.
Oh,
And
sorry.
that sent me down, thank you. And that sent me down the rabbit hole of just grade school friendships and how special they are, even if you don't stay in touch. Like, they leave their mark on you. They help shape who you become because of the timing of the friendship. And I reread Stephen King's The Body, I rewatched Stand By Me, and I was just in that headspace. Like, I wanted to write about the importance of grade school friendships. And so the timing was just perfect. And so just writing it and the opportunity to write it was a gift.
Cool. I love the paper planes idea. I love that. That has right up my. It made me smile, especially when you see the first few go across. I'm like, yeah, of course, perfect. There's an incident that happens in the characters' lives that send them to the camp for troublesome teens. Do we get to know what that incident is? Don't tell me what it is now, because we don't want to spoil it. We don't want to give away the farm.
Right. No
But
spoilers.
yeah, no spoilers. Go buy the book, cheapskates. Go and buy it. Go on. So, do we get to find out what this is?
Yeah.
I'm imagining in my head, because it's kind of like the elephant in the room.
Right.
It sort of builds and builds and builds, and then suddenly it's a crescendo of this is what happened. And then
That's the idea. Absolutely. Keep you reading, keep the pages turning. And another idea was, the two main characters here, Dylan and Leighton, are at this camp being punished for the incident, for what they did. And part of it is taking ownership of it, taking accountability. We just talked about the Patriots. They didn't take accountability for Deflategate or a ton of.
Hey.
Like, the whole point of Leighton and Dylan is to own up to what they've done. And I'm not going to say how much they do or don't do, but that timeline front, why they're there and who did what, kind of, we tried to match it. The end.
Okay, so you play with the reader's expectations a little bit, because we're all well, I say we're all. I'm a little grey-haired and long in the, so I'm not saying I've been around the block, but I've read a fair few books.
Yeah.
How do you manage to then kind of keep the idea fresh? Because I've recently seen I've seen books of this whole sort of coming of age storyline that kind of is really popular right now, and I think it's massive that we have these books because everybody has to come of their own age, if that makes a modicum of sense. I hope it does. One person's story is not the same as another person's story, is the same as another person's story, right?
Right.
So having paper planes, the relationship between the two characters is central, massively. You mentioned that you've sort of touched on your own grade school experiences. How do you keep this type of coming of age story so fresh and inviting, so that long-haired cynics like me don't go, "Oh, it's just another one of them"?
Well, I mean, you touched on it when you said that all of us have our own coming of age stories, right? So each
Right.
story is unique, each story is different. And so if you treat characters in the same way, they're going to have their own unique coming of age story too, which will hopefully be a unique, something different, something very specific. If you write a character very, very specific, that should resonate then with the readers, and it should be something different. It should be something that they haven't seen before, and if it's not, and you come up short. But if you trust the characters and you let them become fully formed and something unique on the page, then I think you get into a little bit of, and you're hopefully giving the reader a experience,
Yeah, excellent. So I'm going to ask a really obvious question, so apologies for this one. All right. When I heard Camp for Troublesome Teens, I couldn't help but think of these types of camps that exist where kids are sent to modify who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the kind of line and the parallel I drew. Am I a million miles off this, or is this kind of a metaphor for that type of environment?
Right. So when you're
like conversion type camps,
conversion therapy, and I've had friends who, like, younger, when we were all younger, whose parents or adults in their lives wanted to or did send them to conversion camp. This is something different, but there's similarities. There's definitely things that both camps employ. This one is not, I mean, they're not trying to change or rewire how Leighton and Dylan think, or they're not trying to make them straight, or Dylan is non-binary and Leighton is asexual. They're not trying to change that. So that's the major difference. With conversion therapy, let's say I were a teenager, being queer, being non-binary, if my parents sent me to a conversion therapy camp, they would want to rewire me so that I came out straight, or at least thinking I was straight, which is a really awful thing. And thankfully my parents, I, like everyone, had issues with my parents, but they never had an issue with me being queer, which was great. But I actually do have firsthand experience at a summer camp as a kid that just scared me to death. So I grew up in North Carolina, and one reason I'm not a Patriots fan.
Panthers.
So I come from a very small conservative Christian town with two of those things. There's nothing wrong with small. There's nothing wrong with Christian, if that's how you roll. Conservative, we can talk, another time about that. But it's very typical in town that people go during the summer to a church camp. So I went to a Bible camp, and I was like 9, 10 years old. It scared me. It to this day being institutional religion-esque.
Mhm.
And we all went into a tent, and everyone was walking in a circle speaking in tongues. And then before I went to bed, someone came around and stuck a flashlight in my face and asked me if I was saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. I'm like 9 years old. I don't know what those things mean. It scared me. And so I definitely pulled on that experience, even though Paper Planes is not, it's not religious. It's not about a church camp. That feeling of being somewhere where you don't want to be, you don't belong, you don't feel comfortable, and you don't feel seen, I could tap into for sure.
Perfect. Great answer.
A
Great
lot
answer.
of people can,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah, I think we all relate to that period of our lives where we don't want to be there, and yet someone reckons it's for our greater good.
Right.
And whilst I appreciate the characters in the book aren't going through a conversion therapy, it is the kind of, rather than who they are that needs to get modified, it's their behaviors or their attitudes.
Right.
So it does translate quite well, I think. That whole kind of metaphor, it works really well. So thank you for sharing that. That's a really, really powerful answer. Well
yeah,
done.
and there is a counselor at the book, so the campers have to go through evaluations. They have to pass evaluations. They, and get a positive evaluation, or they don't get to go back to high school with their friends. They have to go to an alternative high school. And there is a counselor who really questions Dylan, and the whole thought of, is Dylan bad because they're queer? That whole thing comes up. And so that's not that far off from, conversion camp and conversion therapy and that whole thing.
Cool. Let me ask you about the art, because I have some of the art here to go. Let me just present a couple of pages. These are taken from your preview pages, so I haven't tried to take anything that I shouldn't. Yeah. What type of writer are you, Jennie? Do you kind of give full scripts, including camera angles and what you have to see, or do you let the artists kind of breathe a little and kind of show a little bit of their own, I suppose, input?
Well, to keep going with the sports references and metaphors, I'm the kind of artist writer who likes to just toss the ball to the artist and let them run with it. So my scripts, occasionally I'll say something like, large panel or long, wide panel, something like that. But I don't do a lot of stage directions or camera directions for the artist. I let them run with it. I want to see what they come up with. And in the case of Paper Planes, I worked with Dozer Draws, and Dozer are incredible. Their art style is perfect for the story, and they just got what I was doing with the characters and just ran with it and just captured everything I imagined and more, and made the characters, not just Dylan and Leighton, which we see here, but all the other campers are a diverse group of kids, and they're also just so accessible. The hope is that readers see someone like them or someone like they know. Like these are people they go to school with, people that they live next to or go play on the playground with. That's kind of the idea for the character design that Dozer did such incredible work on.
The book looks great, I'm not going to lie. There's a nice juxtaposition between the seriousness of what the characters are going through and the kind of Saturday morning, Sunday morning cartoon strip elements that kind of give it a sense of like, whoa, it's fun. But if you read between the lines, it's like there's something shady underneath. Just keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
So
yes.
I like that a lot.
Yes, there's a playfulness. I definitely agree with you with like the morning cartoon reference. There's there's a playfulness, there's a simplicity to Dozer's art, and accessibility, and yeah, it's fun. And then so when the heavy issues come in and the heavy plot points, the art style and the world that Dozer created through the art helps balance out the heavy parts of the story, I think, really well.
Cool. They've absolutely done a spot on job. Absolutely. Stuff like this style of art, just, it gets me. I like, just, don't get me wrong, I'm a superhero fan as much as the next person, but to read something like this, it just puts a daft grin on my face. What can I say? I flick through it. I'm like, I get it. It's accessible. It's, camp is the new black, as opposed to orange is the new black for these two characters, I'm afraid. Don't steal my tagline.
I won't. I love it. And thank you. I'm glad that it put a smile on your face.
I've only read chapter 1, so God knows what's coming down the line. What do I know? Yeah. I'll be like, ooh, afterwards. Oh no, it's cool. Well, but that just shows how evocative the writing is, that even after one chapter, I'm all in. So
oh, that's great.
So that has to be worth something, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It grabbed your attention and you want to read more. I mean, that's what I think every writer asks for.
Cool.
What's next? I want to see what's next. That's the big thing.
And that is a really great question, and we will get to that after one of our adverts for one of our other shows. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an advert that extols the virtues of the Miami Dolphins or the Carolina Panthers. Although if I had one that dissed the New England Patriots, I'd play that every show. Yes, I said that. Where can we go? I tell you what, we'll keep it old school. Check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show.
Do you want to find out what makes the professor do his happy dance? Check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show, only on the UCPN.
The Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. Check it out for all you retro comic fans. There you go. Right, Jenny, you've been I'm going to say this, and please don't take offense at it, but you've been around. You've done some absolutely exquisite books. All right.
Well, that fits in with my tag on Instagram and Twitter, Jennie Wood and did, right? So yes, I have gotten around.
Well, I meant it in a nice way.
I know. I don't take offense, but I have. I've done some things.
One of the things that I noticed in your bio and on your website was a little book that absolutely meant the world to me when it came out the first time. So much so that when my stepdaughter came out of her personal closet, or their personal closet, as we're going through at the moment, I absolutely gave her a copy. I said, you know what? Read this. And it's Love is Love.
Oh,
I absolutely love that book. It absolutely typifies a fantastic message. Tell me about your involvement with that book, please.
So, well, thank you. And I'm glad, that it touched you. It touched me to be part of it. It meant a lot to be a part of that book. So I was in San Diego Comic-Con exhibiting when I was approached to do the book. And as you know, San Diego Comic-Con is 5 days. It's the big show. It's the Super Bowl of comic conventions. Yeah. It's 5 days, and the
day Beyonce is singing.
Yeah. And I think I had until like the following week to do something for it. So the deadline was approaching, but I really wanted to be a part of it. Love is Love is an anthology, for your listeners who don't know, a comic anthology that was made to the proceeds supported the families of the victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. And so it was a bunch of LGBTQ comic creators, artists, writers who came together to do that book. And I wanted to be a part of it to support that cause. But because of the limited time, instead of doing a brand new story, creating new characters, I reached out to Jeff McComsey, who was my artist at the time on our ongoing series, graphic novel series Flutter. And, he is fantastic to work with. And he's such a quick turnaround. I knew that we could do something. And so we just did a very short Flutter original comic, not seen in the graphic novels anywhere. So it's only in Love is Love. And we turned it in. And just, it felt so good to be a part of that book and just bring a tiny, tiny bit of comfort to the victims' families of that shooting. And then I found out recently that Love is Love has been banned in Texas. So I've been banned, which the book has been banned. And that's where my partner's from. My partner is from Texas, and I spend Christmas in Texas. So, I get to say that I've been banned in Texas. Not that that's a good thing. This book
well, actually, being banned is it's hard. It's a hard one, isn't it? Being banned's not neither here nor there. But the topic of the book, it should be out there. It should be spoken about. People should be reading it, right?
Yes.
It baffles my brains that Mouse has been banned in schools, and I'm like, so you're going to let kids read Twilight, but you're not going to let them read Mouse,
right?
Really?
That's a great point.
It's kind of my head is
kind of it underestimates kids, right? And it underestimates kids because what it's doing is it's making the books less accessible and harder to get. But kids are going to get the content that they want and they need. And, whether it's online, whether it's, finding it out in another state, in another country, through the mail, through a friend, whatever. So why make it so difficult, Because you're just creating that barrier between you and kids.
And those barriers are going to be self-defeating in the long run, because if someone is going through a transition, personal as well as physical, or they're coming out of as gay or lesbian or non-binary or asexual, then people putting barriers in are just going to make it that much more resentful when that person fully flowers, shall we say, and then becomes the person they were meant to be. And then all they've got is now this ton of resentment that they had to go through all that stuff to do that. Instead of being nurturing and kind of supporting somebody go through whatever it is they're going through. I mean, it's a difficult subject, and in my house we are going through something similar here, but we're super supportive. It's kind of like, how a person wants to be identified is just for me, it's a matter of respect. If someone says to me, I would prefer to be identified as this rather than that, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, thanks for telling me, because I don't want to cause offense. And that's kind of where I'm at. I am probably, in my circle of friends, I am the most laid back person around gender, sexuality, identity that I know. It's just, and some of that's my upbringing. Some of it's my awareness of the world. Some of it is reading books like Love is Love.
Right. Yeah.
So, cool. You mentioned something earlier about your book that I'd like to just touch on. You mentioned that one character is non-binary and the other is asexual. Now, for people who don't understand these terms,
sure,
are you able to shed a little light on that?
Yeah, and I can relate to people who don't understand these terms. So in college, I came out as lesbian because I knew that I liked women, but that term didn't feel completely authentic. It just felt like the one that was the most like me. And then I wrote Flutter, which is a graphic novel series about a girl who shapeshifts into a boy to get her dream girl because her dream girl is straight. And I wrote a young adult novel, A Boy Like Me, which is about a trans boy. And I began going to comic conventions all over the country to promote those books. And that at those comic conventions was the first time I heard the terms cisgender, non-binary. And I was doing a panel at a queer and comics convention in New York, and I was asked by the moderator what my pronouns were. And I immediately stuttered. I got nervous. I was like, she, her, hers. Of course. Don't I look female? I didn't say don't I look female, but in my head I did. And in my head I had such an intense, visceral reaction that I was like, ooh, there's something here. And what is this non-binary term? And what is this cisgender term? And that took me. So the comic conventions and writing these books led me to where I am today. And then to be able to write Paper Planes and write my first non-binary character as I was coming out as non-binary was, again, it was a huge gift, and still getting used to it myself. So, for your listeners who don't know, non-binary means that the term non-binary can mean different things to different people, which of course then get tricky. But for me, it means that I don't feel female or male, that I don't subscribe to the construct, what I perceive as a construct of gender, male, female, boy, girl, that I am. For me, it is that I'm neither. Now, for some people, it might be that they're both male and female.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the other side of a coin in a way that you feel both. I feel neither. To me, that's a different feeling. So that's non-binary. Some people don't want to deal with that at all, and they're genderqueer. Within the LGBTQ community, there can be infighting. I completely understand when a trans individual is irritated at a non-binary. I went through a period of time when I was writing A Boy Like, am I trans? But in my experience with my trans friends, it's never a question. They know. I was assigned the wrong gender at birth, and so I realized through the writing that that's not who I am, and came across this non-binary term for the first time. Asexual, and I do have people in my life who are asexual that I could draw from when I wrote Leighton. And Leighton I didn't start out thinking or writing her as asexual. She told us, the creative team, she's like, I'm asexual. And it was really in a relation to Dylan, because she loves Dylan, but she can't be with them. And it's not a sexual thing. And so she is just not, Leighton is not into anyone, attracted to anyone sexually. And within the asexual umbrella and spectrum, there are different kinds of asexual. So there's people that can feel romantic love but not sexual. And there are people who feel nothing, but don't feel romantic or sexual. And so I understand why it can be confusing to people. I also understand it can be overwhelming. And I also, because I felt it myself, why, you could put a hand up and be like, no, that's, too much, or that's not me, or, so it can just be overwhelming. But, go ahead.
Cool. Thank you. Again,
short answer, because there's one answer.
That's fine. No,
which again, I think is another reason that people are like, oh, whatever.
And that's why I asked the question, because if there was a short answer, people would be like, oh yeah, it's that. And I know it's not that. I know non-binary means this or that, or it means different things to different people. Same with asexuality. I get it. It's the non-sexual attraction element, but do you still feel romantic love? Do you still feel a connection? All those sort of things are that have to be discussed. How else do people learn?
Right. No, thank you for asking the question. Thank you for listening and yeah, giving me the chance to kind of
No.
explain how I see it and what those terms mean to me.
Well, thank you for your honesty. Absolutely. One of the things that I like about the show is we get to talk about you, the creator, and who you are translates into your work. And that's not just yourself, Jennie, that's writers per se, so it's across the board. So I think having those elements to draw upon, if not it has to be greater for you, because the journey is such a personal journey, whether it's Leighton, whether it's whomever, Dylan, whether it's you, whether it's my stepdaughter, the journey is so personal that I don't think anyone can do it justice as a story unless they have the relevant experience of that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that superhero writers put a cape on a night and jump out a window like Superman. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, but yeah, superheroes are their own thing down the line. This is a personal story about two characters who are going through life and going through changes. And, you mentioned there you've gone through yours, so that makes it absolutely more personal. Definitely. Excellent. Right, let's have a look at some other stuff. What have I got? Well, let's have a quick look. I've got some... I think I showed this earlier. Full Metal Genie. There you go. At bigcartel.com. This is where you can buy your previous books, correct?
Yes. Yes.
There you go. Check them all out. Or check some of them out, I should say. Cool. Excellent. There's the screen. I've got too many screens open. There you go. There's Flutter. Yeah, absolute love that.
That's every issue of Flutter and the collection and A Boy Like Me.
Cool. Excellent. Do you find it easy to travel from project to project? Because we talk about some heavy subjects at times, and the characters react differently. So
Right.
Do you find it easier to go between one to the other, or are you kind of like, right, that's Flutter story done, compartmentalize onto the next?
I actually like working on two projects at the same time, but I like for those projects to be different as much as they can. Okay. It's why I do some comics and graphic novels, and then I also am doing prose and actual novels. And then I like writing for anthologies too, because you can work on a longer project like a full graphic novel or novel. Mm-hmm. And then you're also working on a short. And so you can do 2 or 3 or even 6 shorts for anthologies while you're working on a longer project, and just take breaks. Working on something shorter and different is a nice break from the longer project. So it's a delicate balance, because if you do I find if I do more than 2 things at once, then
yeah, well, I'm lucky if I can breathe and walk at the same time. Yeah. Never mind do 2 projects. Where else we at? There we go. This is Mad Cave Studios, Maverick Paper Planes. This is where you can get all your details. There's some pre-order there. You've got the Diamond link, your Barnes and Noble. You get a couple of preview pages. You can read chapter 1. It's just there. Just there, which is where I got it from. Thank you very much for that. The book is in Previews World. So if you're interested in ordering this from your local comic book shop, you will need the Previews order code, which is that's Mike Alpha Romeo 231726. There you go. Or you can buy it direct from Genie themselves. There you go. And let me get that one going on. There are the links. Check that out. Get yourself over there. Paper planes, other books, merch. What more? What more do you want? What more do you want? Yeah, that's cool. Perfect. So we're almost at the end. So, Jennie, give me a what is it? Give me a 60 second spiel as to why people should be checking out Paper Planes.
Paper Planes is about an intense grade school friendship, and I think we can all relate to grade school friendships and how much they leave their mark on us and shape who we are, and how everything kind of shifts after high school. So this explores that moment right before high school, that summer before everything changes. And I hope is that everyone can see themselves or someone they know, someone they love in this book, and come away from it feeling less alone.
Cool. It's funny because you mentioned that grade school romance, or that not romance, the grade school living, that kind of relationship that you build with your friends and so on. I still remember my grade school girlfriend, Claire Dixon. She dumped me for Jason Goldberg.
Oh,
I know.
I'm sure she regretted it.
I'm sure she didn't.
There's a romance. Go ahead.
Jason turned out to be a great mate. So he was Jason kind
You're
of.
going to tell me about your grade school romance.
So Claire Dixon was a cutie pie. What can I say? For some reason, she liked my friend Jason. Jason at the time, as his name suggests, is of Jewish descent, and he was getting bullied at school. And I, like a true superhero that I was at that age, I wasn't that really. I just got in the way and said, "Hey, less of it." And since then, we became best friends. So it wasn't so hard because it's grade school. So, but yeah, we were tight for ages, tight. But but it is massive. Those relationships you forge. I'm in my 50s, and even now I can remember what Claire looks like. I can remember what Jason looks like. So, haven't spoken to either of them for years. So, the one that got away.
I think we all have one, and that they do stay with you, and there is a romance to it, the nostalgia of grade school, and just how innocent everything used to be.
Cool, that's a good show. All right, so Jennie's social media is there. Go and check them out. It is your Instagram.com, Jennie Wood and did. See, I'm not on Insta. I'm not that cool to be on Insta. You've got your Twitter. Woo! I know all about Twitter. And of course, you've got Facebook on there as well. So highlight them, and you will get to know everything that Jennie has coming out and so on. The revised shipping date for the book Paper Planes is July 18th. So your local comic book shop, as I said, will be able to order that in. You can check out the websites themselves. There you go. You can order it direct. Cut out the middleman. You know what? I don't actually care. I don't care if you buy it off Jennie. I don't care if you buy it off the comic shop. Just buy the damn thing. That's it. Simple as. Just buy it. And I swear it is a fun read. You'll enjoy it. You'll get something out of it. I know I did. So there you go. There you go. Excellent. Jennie, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I really do appreciate your time. I know how busy you are.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was great to be here. Great to talk to you.
Excellent. Well, I am very pleased. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it very much. Your book will be fantastic. I can't wait to see it. So if you want an advance review, just give me a nudge. I'm sure I can get that sorted for you.
Thank you so much.
Spoiler free, of course. Spoiler free. All right, don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite shows. You saw the advert for it earlier. It was the Old Timers Comic Book Show. And of course, if you like things a little bit Korean, your K-pop Cosmos once a month takes you through everything that is K-pop, including the dances, the style, and even the fishnets if you're lucky. What can I say? All right, Jennie, thanks again. Really do appreciate it. And as for everyone else, my name's Jennie the Machine Hughes. I've been your host. As always, adios.
Thank you.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.shop, all about comic pop culture.